Greetings, welcome back to Development Book Club. Today we finish with Restoring Sanctuary. The final chapter is called Putting It All Together. And the authors sort of begin the chapter with an idea of putting more into what they call human services. So shifting again from asking what's wrong with you to what's happened to you. And just given the work we did with solution-focused brief therapy, I wonder, although I appreciate the change in context they have, this idea of what's happened or what happened to you is very backwards looking, and it's not solution focused. Obviously, I know the authors would agree with that, but I wonder if we're just making a small shift here that could be a lot larger. Anyways, talk about how can we measure results in Sanctuary, and what are those results that we're trying to achieve? And so they sort of parallel this with for-profit industries, and they say, well, what is the value creation? That's so easy to measure in profits is not so much in nonprofits. The idea of this value creation is not linear. And as professionals, we should have to be accountable for the outcomes for our work, though, still, right? And so Sanctuary does not prevent bad things from happening. The authors want us to remember it helps us to more successfully navigate the hard times that we go through so that adversity does not result in trauma for our clients and for people that work in our agencies. A couple of questions they bring up is, how often is this idea, I need to change things in our organization, or we need to change things in our organization? How often is that code for we need other people to change versus ourselves to change? One of the big structural components of this last chapter is the idea of what they call like the 20-60-20 rule, and this has to do with employees and specifically when changes come up. So the idea is that 20% of your employees will never adapt to something new. They don't need to be vilified for their unwillingness to accept new ideas. Don't have any ill will towards them. It's not going to help anybody out. They do need to be helped to exit the organization, preferably by way of them discovering that they're no longer happy at the organization and that they decide to leave on their own. If these are important things like the commitments, for example, in this book, the movable middle, so-called, is the 60%, and that's obviously the bulk of any organization. Half of those 60% are going to be easy, and the other half are going to be hard. So the hard half, they use their resistance. So we can use their resistance to change to point out the gaps and the problems and the new ways that we're doing things to make things even better, which is awesome. And the final 20% are I guess you could call them early adapters, people that are already on board. As soon as something is rolled out, you don't need to sell that on it or anything. So really cool sort of structural way to think about people in an organization, any organization really. And a couple more points the authors say at the very end is just that when they talk about, back to thinking about changing ourselves, when we change ourselves, it not only inspires others, but it actually compels them to they take note of what is the example of it that leadership is providing, and they transpose it onto themselves, what they need to do. So that's the end of Restoring Sanctuary. Really good one. I would probably put it about this top half of the books we've read so far this year. One question that came up was just, there's all these weird drawings and things like this, for example, just from the middle of the book, that I don't find helpful at all. They're like PowerPoint slides they're just lists basically. I don't know why they included in the book. They didn't get the page count up. I really appreciate the ambition of the project, and they've obviously put a ton of work into this series of 3 books, and especially this last one, which is the most important. And it's a very thought out, integrated system of these commitments, and short of going through the Sanctuary process, which I'm told costs several $100,000 to have the Sanctuary sort of stamp on your agency, I think the book gives us a good way to think about this idea of commitments and what we are doing, and a nice framework to look at how we can appropriately work with people and clients and employees in trauma-based settings. And we will see you next time.